Welcome to GFB Express. I'm back in the saddle this week. Only had one video last week. The realignment craze was a little bit done. I had to wrap up some work things. The finishing up the quarter end for my real job, my grown up job. Can't always talk about college football on the internet as much as I would love to, but we are back in the saddle, getting ready for the season. And today's biggest story is that the Blindside subject, Michael Oher, alleges Touhy's made millions off lie. This is from Michael Fletcher, ESPN. So the crux of this article is that in the movie, it was portrayed that the Touhy family adopted Michael Oher, and that, it turns out, was not the case. Instead, what he signed, rather than agreeing to be adopted by them, was a conservatorship, which does not end when you are 18. And it is typically designed for, it's really just financial guardianship. You can't make any medical decisions like you would if you are the parent or an actual guardian, but it just gives you control of someone's finances and the agreements to make things. So, for example, Michael Oher did not get anything from the movie The Blind Side that was made about him, but the Touhys, under the Touhy family, under that conservatorship, gave each of their two kids that are portrayed, the son and the daughter that are portrayed in the movie, they got $225,000 as for using their story or their likeness or name in the movie, plus 2.5% of the film's net proceeds. Well, Michael did not get anything. So what he is portraying, or what he is saying, is that he was duped by this. He did not realize. I am not sure how it took until now, because I'm assuming he's amassed a legal team over the last decade plus of him being in the NFL and all of his career earnings, that he has some advisors, that this didn't come up until now. It says in the article that he did not learn of this. He learned it in February of 2023, when he learned that he consented on the basis that doing so would make him a member of the Touhy family, which in fact provided him no familial relationship with the Touhys. So there are some other distinctions. The article continues. If Oher had been adopted by the Touhys, he would have been a legal member of the family and would have retained power to handle his own financial affairs. Under the conservatorship, he surrendered that authority to the Touhys, even though he was a legal adult with no known legal or psychological disabilities. The Touhys began negotiating a movie deal about their relationship with Oher shortly after the 2006 release of the book The Blindside, which chronicled his story. So it lists that all four of the Touhy families have the same representative at Creative Artists Agency, but Oher's agent, who would receive movie contract and payment notice, is listed as Deborah Brandon, a close family friend, and the same lawyer who filed the conservatorship petition. The petition alleges that Brandon did not return a call on Monday to her law office. So the whole movie is portraying that they adopted him and they brought them into his family. But it turns out that in pure SEC fashion, this is the SEC. We got to do everything for the good of our program down here in Oxford, Mississippi. They did not adopt him. In SEC fashion, they used whatever power they could over athletes who had huge dreams and lofty goals and were very naive to the way the legal proceedings of the world worked, to take advantage of them. It appears to take advantage of them in order to help their football team, which is by far the most disgusting part of supporting of this sport. Is, when you see a player who gets a DUI and then only gets suspended for a week and it gets brushed under the rug and it gets dropped by the local prosecutor, those things like that, where this is the extra legal things that they get away with, or the fact that you're trying to pull one over on a 17-year-old homeless kid because it's going to make you some money. That's gross. So this isn't, I will say, this is still, I'm not a lawyer, haven't been able to read this full thing, but if it was conservatorship, that is something that doesn't get granted lightly. And if it is something, you can't really deny it, because it's a court filed document that it shows what's there, that it was not an adoption, that it was not a guardianship, that it was a conservatorship. It should be pretty cut and dry. So if this is going public now, I'm assuming like this, Orr's not going to be making stuff up willy-nilly that he doesn't understand. He's got his own legal team. He's made millions of dollars. He's representing himself now. It has been reported for the last few years that he has separated and distanced himself from the Touhy family, because he kind of felt like they just used him, and that they just used him to make some money. And hey, look at us, we're virtue signaling, trotting around, and that is really, it really just is gross. And so it says, since the film's success coincided with the star's lucrative NFL career in 2009, Orr did not take time to fully investigate the deal until after he retired in 2016. He eventually hired a lawyer who helped him uncover the details surrounding the movie deal and his legal connection to the people he believed were his adoptive parents. His lawyer unearthed a conservatorship document in February, and Orr came to the painful realization that they had not adopted him. This is from his attorney, Gerard Stranch IV, which that is a very, very attorney-esque name. That's his middle name. May well should have been Esquire with if you're going to be Gerard Stranch IV. Mike didn't grow up with a stable family life. Stranch said when the Touhy family told Mike they loved him and wanted to adopt him, it filled a void that had been with him his entire life. Discovering that he wasn't actually adopted devastated Mike and wounded him deeply. The petition marks end quote. The petition marks a sharp break from what had been inspiring, unsettling, even if unsettling, stereotypical feel-good story. As the movie portrayed the story, they adopted Orr, a poor, virtually homeless, and academically challenged Black teenager. They made Orr a part of the functional family for the first time. They got him caught up in school, taught him the basics of football and how to harness his physical skills, putting him to the road to sports stardom. So this is one of those things where they say, well, without us, they wouldn't have been there, so we deserve it, which is, yes, without the Touhy family, he would have never gone to Ole Miss. He never would have played college football. He never would have ended up in the NFL. But you still can't lie to the kid about whether you are actually adopting him or not. Like, you don't, if you want to do something good in the world, you don't care what comes back to you. You don't care if what the public clout that you think, oh, we can write a book about this, we can make a movie about this, that, you know, I'm a 6, but it would be awesome if Sandra Bullock played me. You know, you don't think about those things, but which is just, it's gross. And so I am interested to follow this story to see what's going forward. And, you know, this is, if it's a conservatorship, then because it's a religious financial affairs, the petition also alleges that they can be using his name, image, and likeness across other things. So any other book deals or continued royalties from the movie, basically anything related to the branding of Michael Oher, the Touhy family can basically, they can pimp him out and pimp out his story to line their own pockets. So this is something that is just really gross. You know, I'm all for people making money. I'm all for, you know, people working hard, but you got to be honest. You got to do it the right way. And it seems out that this is just gross, which, I mean, look at who his head coach was in high school. He played for Hugh Freeze, or, you know, and that should tell us a lot about, look at Hugh Freeze's story. And if that's the circles that the Touhy family is running in, of how Hugh Freeze portrays himself and what was actually going on when he was at Ole Miss, and, you know, then going over and doing with everything at Liberty, now being in Auburn, it's not surprising, unfortunately. So I hope that this gets straightened out. And if there was, you know, a lot of lies and deception that you're preying upon a 17-year-old kid, then I hope the Touhy family, you know, Michael Oher can get whatever legal extent of the law will allow in terms of compensation. But please, hopefully we have a more exciting, more uplifting story tomorrow. But that is something that will follow out in the coming months. Please like, subscribe, share, fuel the algorithm. And thank you again for checking out GFB.